very special, esteemed guest in the building tonight.
Yes, yes.
For some of you all, he needs no introduction, but I will provide one, such as I always do. He is a well-respected individual in the community who has close ties with a lot of people. Some you know, some you don't know, some you should know, right? So we really want to give the show some context. We talk about Black wellness. We talk about Black men's wellness. So I decided to get an expert on these kinds of topics. He is none other than Mr. Anthony Courtney, the elder Anthony Courtney. How you doing, brother?
Fine, brother. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. No doubt.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Right.
It's
It ain't
an honor.
Outlaw Radio, so people listen and say, oh, they finna snap. No, it's not Outlaw Radio. Tune in tomorrow night for Outlaw Radio. Thursdays, Saturdays, we do Outlaw Radio. We get it in, we get it out. It's socio-political, it's militant, it's what you call it, holistic.
Holistic.
Because Kamar represents that energy. So I figure we covered the scope of Black men very well on that show. So tune in for that. Shout out to 3041 North. Mr. Keith Terry down at 3041 North doing great Black business in the community. 414-810-3131. Miss Serena has the Get Motivated, Get Healthy Facebook group. They were on the show a couple weeks ago. These are the t-shirts, Post Healthy. They have a seminar coming up that will be at 3041 North Saturday from 11 to 1. It's a wellness seminar. I don't know, brother, I don't know if you reached out, but you're welcome. You know, she told me you were welcome to attend. It's going to be speakers. It's going to be, you know, a lot of breakout sessions and things of that nature. Free food. So if that's what you're into, holler at that Mr. Dante Chestnut. DAMG Entertainment, also a very strong supporter of the show. Miss Octavia Manuel Wright with Black Nurses Rock, definitely my sister. Who am I forgetting? to shout out? Hatef and Sound Silhouette, who will be producing part 2 of our docuseries Outlaw TV. UNC Part 1, Black and White. You gotta go to the YouTube page, man. We doing all kinds of stuff over
Yes,
here.
yes. So I want to give a personal shout out to Honeybee Sage and Wellness,
Okay.
Apothecary down at the Sherman. I want to give a shout out to the Sherman Phoenix. Peace, y'all. How the village doing out there?
Yes, man. So it's the Warrior Report. I want to shoot a couple things down with our conversation tonight. Number one is the generation gap that supposedly exists between Black men, which is why we brought an elder on so he can speak from an elder's perspective. And as my father say, come on with the come on and stop shucking and jiving. How you doing, brother? Tell these people about yourself.
Well, my name is Anthony Courtney, basically referred to as Tony Courtney. And been in Milwaukee since moved here in 1974, coming from Racine, Wisconsin, where my first teaching assignment was in 1968. I came out of college. I'm originally from Chicago, and when I went to college in 1964, the movement was all about civil rights. But in midstream, in 1966, the conversation changed to Black Power. And what helped me begin to get a greater understanding of what it is that affected my life was I was in 1966, a couple of brothers that was on the basketball team, because I played college basketball and football as well. And a couple of the brothers came in and they said, hey, Courtney, come on in here and listen to this record. And what they had on was Malcolm X, Message to the Grassroots. And once I listened to Malcolm X, then that began my journey into looking at the world in an entirely different way, because I had looked at what happened with my family. It was 4 of us. I never remember living with my mother or my father. Us as siblings, we never lived together. I only lived with one brother at a given time, and the 4 of us were split up among different family members. So I looked at a lot of the things that took place in my life, and once I began to get that insight that Malcolm X was putting out there, it changed the entire way of terms of how I began to look at the system and what it had basically done. And when I went off to college, I knew what prejudice was, but college taught me what racism was. Once I came out of college, and I was clear.
There is a difference. Let's be clear. Let's make that clear. Yeah, there is a difference.
Prejudice might be individual. Racism is a system.
Right.
You know, and so, you know, that has been my continued journey to go ahead and destroy racism, destroy the system, turn the system around so that it can work in the best interest of everybody.
Right.
You know, and that's what you want to have. They're pitted against each other without recognizing that both are the victims of a system that don't work for nobody, except for those maybe 1% at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, I've spent a large part of my life now in Milwaukee, 45 years, been involved in a number of different organizations. And with different ages, I evolve to do different things. I develop a lane. I've always tried to be supportive of any of the brothers and sisters that are promoting anything Black, that where they are sincere about what they're doing. And my goal has always been to support you either with my presence or my money. Because what happens is we need everybody to do what we're trying to do. We have different lanes that we're in. We don't all do the same thing well, but the brothers and sisters who are in certain lanes, they do that well. And, so what I do is I do that. I write little small pamphlets. I got an enterprise called My Brothers Gold Cards, whereas I create greeting cards.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you why I do that a little later on. But that's basically what I do, and try to continue.
Dope cars too, man. Some nice cars. I sat with him down at the Sherman Phoenix the other day.
Okay.
And I actually got some in the bag still right here.
Okay.
But I mean, he got some.
Yeah, bring them on out.
Yeah, let's get them on out here.
And shout yourself out for Nature's Nature Herbs as well. I keep telling y'all, man, teamwork makes the dream work. We have to support each other business wise. If you have a business out there and you wanna get some representation and some promotions going for your business, by all means, get in touch with me. I promise not to knock the stuffing out your Egg McMuffin. And you can compare my prices to somebody like iHeart or any. Look, it's not even comparable, because I know if you have a startup business and you're just trying to get on, you don't have necessarily an advertising budget, but you have to understand the ability to market your business and put it in people's faces. So holler at me. Our rate cards are coming real soon. I'll get those, but if you holler at me, I can let you know what the deal is. But man, whatever you got, man. We've done the crab boils on here. Shout out to Next Level Vegan. We've done the vegan food. I've had authors. Shout out to my brother Jeff Zollicoffer with Love Letters. London Brown with her books. And she has a makeup line right now. So I got to bring London back home, because I know she's like, hey, he brought me back home, to talk about my makeup line. So I got to get my sister back on here, man. But Black business, man, because I believe, my personal theory is that poverty is one of the main contributors to the situation that we now have in our city. I've stated many times, our city is like I don't know if people are familiar with the video game Grand Theft Auto. And we did a show called GTA Milwaukee, right? Where it's just like car chases and explosions and shootouts and robberies. It's like, for this city to be this small, it's ridiculous, especially when you think about that the majority of the people of color live on the north side in it's not a real big area. So how can you have this much crime? I know why it's there. I understand logistically why it exists, but I'm saying you got to look at that and say, man, this is a cold game that they played on us. Like they got us mentally, and they don't just, you don't have to have me in chains if you got my brain in chains. So when my brother talked about, dealing with racism, that's something that I've also thought is very important, that we don't just cry about racism. We try to attack it. We try to get rid of it. We try to, not play into it as much. Right. So welcome to the show, my brother. You are a friend of the show. I want you to know anytime you got anything you want to promote or whatever movement you want. If sometimes you just want to top it up with some young fellas, you can come hang out with us, man. We appreciate the knowledge and the wisdom.
Yes.
I also want to talk about, because right now we have this thing called this fatherhood initiative. You guys ready, right? Okay. You can holler about the cards if you want to.
Well, what I decided to do was to 7 days a week, you turn on the news, I don't care what time, you're guaranteed to see something negative about Black men. All right. And what happens is, with this continuous bombardment about us, then what it begins to do is desensitize people to our plight and condition. So what happens after a while is, a lot of folks don't want to believe it's a conspiracy, because they see a lot of our young people, as well as the older ones, going through disrupting the community. You know what I'm saying? And so there's not a lot of love given to Black men.
Right.
And then we all put into one category. Then we all put into a particular category where it's like all the Black men are like this. And so what happens is, you can't fight an image with just talk.
That's just a computer.
Yeah,
right?
you can't fight an image with just talk.
Right.
You got to create another image to go along with it. Is that right?
Right.
So one of the things
That was a good one.
that I decided to do at one point is that I watched a show once called Married with Children with Al Bundy, and I saw all these men in this store fighting over this last greeting card.
Mhm.
And they were fighting over because they knew they couldn't come home without that greeting card because they don't want no more drama in their house. Now they probably already had some drama in their house because relationships
Right.
That didn't start.
but they didn't want no additional
Right.
drama.
Young
Right.
people say I ain't want no smoke.
And
That's
you know,
right.
we also see that too. We see that in the store now. You know what I
That's
mean? You
right.
go to the store on Valentine's Day
That's
Come on,
right.
man.
That's
around
the
3
thing.
o'clock.
That's right.
And we just talked about this. If people who watch the show remember, we just discussed this last week when we talked about the gender roles. Because if you didn't check out the show last Thursday, right? Because I was in shot with Lil Dude for a
last
football
Thursday.
game.
Yeah.
Thursday, we did the heterosexual male show. And we had a discussion about the assault, like you just talked about, on Black masculinity and masculinity, period,
Right.
to make it appear something that's just overtly negative. But we also discussed on there how in reality, the woman really runs the home anyways, because that's why you out in the store getting that green card.
Mhm.
That's why you paint up on the gutter, on the ladder, because she don't like the gutter or whatever. So inadvertently she runs the household. But like I said, stroke my ego, baby. At least let me feel like at least make me feel like
Right.
I'm okay.
Uh-huh.
So when we talk about that dynamic, and that's why I brought up the Black Fatherhood Initiative.
Mhm.
And there's they're having it here. It's in October, right? That one's in October. I think it's October 25th. I have the information, and it's just about like brothers going down there, even really dealing with the courts about trying to get some justice with their child support.
Mhm.
Because child support has infringed upon the relationships of a lot of fathers and their children. Believe it or not, child support is a thing that
Mhm.
brothers be salty about.
Right.
And sometimes the women go after it because they salty. So, you know, it's just like if you get a chance to really do something about it, you have to take advantage of those opportunities. So I'm going to push this the fatherhood
You
initiative.
know, I actually went down there a couple years ago.
Okay.
You know, and they helped me out. You know,
Okay,
they
helped you?
like helped me get rid of some arrears.
Oh,
Well,
that's what's up.
Well, you know, my kids' mothers had to agree also, but
Okay.
you know what I mean? They helped me get to that point. You know
Right.
what I mean? So yeah, that's a good thing.
Right.
They do a lot of other stuff down there too. Like it's different jobs.
Yeah, it's a lot.
You know?
It's a lot of service.
I mean, I like the program myself.
Okay. I think it's a good thing. I ain't never experienced that because both of mine was born in wedlock, but I ain't trying to judge y'all. I told you I ain't perfect, but I'm worth it. I'm just kidding.
Well,
man.
let me just say,
Go ahead,
this
brother.
is about a lot of times the language that we use.
Right.
You said, you know, children were born in wedlock.
Yeah.
Did they get here any different than other people?
Yeah. I think they came on 43 or 90. I'm joking. No,
I know.
it's the same entry. It's the same entry.
Yeah.
It was a joke. I was just trying to
I
pump
know,
myself.
but I'm saying what happens a lot of time we use language in
Mhm.
our community that causes us to judge each other.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right.
Big
A
time.
lot of times when I'm sitting in Coffee Make It Black, a lot of brothers come through and I ask this question. I say, look, I say like, how long, say you married, brother? They say, no. I say, well, you got a significant other? See, I say, how long you been with her? They say, man, I've been with her 17 years. I say, man, you married.
Right. You
Mhm.
are.
Right. Basically, yeah.
You married.
You are.
Yeah.
Y'all got to
See-
build together.
See, because what happens is a piece of paper don't define whether or not a woman is your wife.
That's what's
Right.
It's how you determine if she your wife, then you'll treat her like a wife. A lot of people got a piece of paper and they ain't treated like wives or husbands.
Mhm.
That's
So
true.
we have to really be careful about the language that we use as we pass on, and the youth are picking it up.
Mhm.
You see, language is very important. But what I do is like, I try to be solution based,
Ooh.
and what
You heard that
happens-
before?
and it's a little bit at a time. So if we are seen in a negative light, then we have to begin to create those things that's going to put us in a positive light. So I decided to do greeting cards. And one of the first greeting cards that I did
It's my favorite.
was this sister standing on the stage and his brother is applauding her. But he's applauding her for something that she actually does. The card says, I want to commend you on your ability to lead. Your leadership capability is in keeping with the legacy of a long line of strong Black women. Now, this card has been selling for 16 years.
Can I see that?
Okay.
Thank you.
This card is selling for 16 years and is designed to recognize women in their leadership, whether it's in the home, the church, business, community,
Mhm.
something that they actually do. A lot of the cars that people get out here, because they really, a lot of brothers buy them, they ain't made attention to them. They colorful, but they're
Mhm.
substanceless, and they don't solve the
Right,
problems.
right,
But when you recognize a person for something, what they actually do,
right.
it makes a difference.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, I love these cards, you know, because they ain't like regular cards that you would get in the store. You know, they're actually uplifting. You know what I'm saying? They meant to uplift. And then to be able to give gratitude when it's then to be able to give gratitude, you know what I'm saying, on a day when it's not a holiday.
Right.
Like these cars can go for any time. It could go just because, you know what I'm saying? Surprise her in the morning with the car. You know what I mean? I appreciate you. I see you, boo. You know what I'm saying? And that goes a long way. It go along. I know that because I know it goes a long way with us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let a woman tell me, I appreciate you. Thank you. You don't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it make me want to go out and do better.
Look at, man, everybody got a favorite subject. I know what most people's favorite subject is. Themselves.
Right.
Well, you got me.
And the only thing better than you talking about you is when somebody else is talking about you and saying good things.
Yeah.
That's why Facebook's so popular, because people looking for them likes.
Yes.
Like,
Views.
like how many likes did I get?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you got a lot of people. We got a lot of people watching. A lot of people saying, "I say" and stuff like that. Baba Courtney and I said the man's no respect.
Man, I'm trying to tell you.
I can expect that. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Like that's what I was saying about men. Like, you know, we always like to throw that around. Like women are built. They're made out of emotion, but men are made out of ego, and your ego is very gentle, and it can be damaged very easily. And that's why I say, you know, even as a woman, look, you get all the respect, you know, with just the gesture of marriage, just the gesture of saying, look, out of all of them, I would go to God with you, and you're the one who I'm gonna do it the way they said do it. That gesture means a lot, right? So for me, it's like, I've done that for you, baby. At least let me feel like I'm, you know, don't be pushing me around. Like, you know, I'm talking with another man in the yard. You walk up like, no, it's time for him to go in the house. Like, come on, baby, what's, and that's the attitude of a lot of sisters. I understand why, because our community produces these kind of damaged vessels.
Right.
It does that. And trauma-informed care is very, very important when dealing with people such as Black people in America. But you know, as a woman and a man goes, I think the balance is, you let me be in charge sometimes, and I let you be in charge sometimes. Let's just have ebb and flow, you know. Because like I said, when you walk in the room and be like, I want this to be purple, I want it painted, and here I go in Lowe's trying to get that purple, and I'm gonna paint that room.
You know, we always say it too. You know, we always say this too. You know, a good woman will make a man do what she want him to do, but make him feel like it was his idea.
Charming.
You know what I'm saying? That's a good woman right there, boy. That's a bad one there, man.
Yeah, well, you know, I talk to a number of sisters, and I tell them, just like I used to hear my grandmother used to talk to women and stuff, and you know, I wasn't paying a lot of attention. I'm young, but they would have these conversations, and she would say, you know, baby, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Which simply means you might tell them, say, look here, run through this wall, and you snapping. But that's the wrong way to approach it. You got to say, maybe there's some on the other side of the wall I need. Can you get it for me?
There you go.
On my way.
Right. So the brothers is go get it for you. And then when you was just talking about the pay and stuff, most men, even if they bring the money to the house, they don't care what color the carpet is.
No.
Or the couch, or the curtains.
No.
The only thing they might care about in the living room is they recliner
and a TV.
And the dining room. In the dining room, they ain't going shopping for all that crystal that go in them little cases and silverware. In the dining room table. In the kitchen, the only thing they care about is the food in the refrigerator. Only thing they care about in the bedroom, they ain't going shopping for no sheets and pillowcases and blankets and stuff. They might have a TV. The only other thing they care about in the bedroom is their woman.
Right.
And a lot of them, until they get a certain age, they don't even go shopping for the kids' clothes. So about 90% of whatever the dollars come in the house, women go spend it anyway.
Right.
And brothers don't care as long as it's comfortable. Because when they taking these hits out here in the world, they love coming home to a place where they go get somebody that's going to some degree empathize with them because they can't never necessarily feel like a man, but they know what to do to lift you back up.
Right.
You know, and we need that, and we lift them up as well. They you know, a lot of them have had to get out here in the world now and face the world and find out. A lot of times they didn't understand what a lot of black men was going through, but racism is affecting them as well now.
Yes, sir.
And so, you know, it's like, hey.
Well, even if you look at now, unfortunately, we have this situation where lately there's just been a lot of women being murdered. Like, and I always have to go back. I know I have to go back and quote Tupac when he says, pretty soon we'll have a race of babies that hate the ladies that raise the babies. And when he said that even years ago, I said, man, that's deep right there. Because we was in the midst of, bitch, oh, you know, I don't let them hoes and all this. We didn't even nobody was saying, hold on, oh, whoa, y'all, like you just get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, right? So now we have this unfortunate situation. And, you know, women didn't used to, or maybe it's just me. I don't remember a time when women was just getting gunned down like they are right now. Like, it was, for the most part, brothers, for the most, I mean, you know, just women murder, but, and some of these incidents involve disgruntled boyfriends or some sort of like relationship, you know, where some woman gets with just totally the wrong kind of brother. And, you know, I know women, they a lot of times they see you for what they want you to be, not for who you are. Girl, he could be. Yeah, but right now he, you know, so, and sisters, they, you know, I love him, but, you know, boom. You know, so we see this murder, and I'm saying, now what the hell? Because Barrett don't have the answer for this. There's no politician downtown right now that has an answer. I'm not trying to diss anybody, but no group or grant-funded initiative has the answer for this.
No. Well, see, that's incumbent upon men to take on that challenge, and it will happen. Things take time, and sometimes the community have to get into such a condition that, but there's no other way to go but up. You see, and so what happens is like, you know, we see what people are happening, what they're doing, but you can't judge them because you don't know why they're doing it. Because the conditions that exist out here affect us different ways, and the stress of the situation will call many people to snap, both men and women. But one of the things I've been looking at is like, let's say for instance, take domestic abuse. And so what happens sometimes is we have to refer back to our traditional way of how we dealt with things. And I'll do this little thing, and you've seen it, Kamar, where I talk about looking at the world through the eyes of our ancestors. And then one side, it makes a comparison between when we ran our own world as black men and black women and what we're trying to fit into now that does not work for us. It don't even work for the people who created. Right. Because what you're seeing is that you're seeing things falling apart at the seams. The suicide rate is up. The opioids, people are making money on them. The thing with the people that are vaping with the cigarettes and stuff is killing folks. The divorce rate. You know, the Trump and them is trying to create things to force their women to have babies, even if they've been raped. So things are falling apart at the seams. But in the traditional village, they didn't even allow for you to argue because we didn't have no doors so everybody could hear what you're saying. Right. And then so what would immediately happen is the elder women would come out and take that woman back to her family. She's not your property. She came from a family. And y'all were brought together to make another family. Then that night, the brothers was obligated to come by and visit you and say, look here, man, you know, we've been working all day, but we got a report from the elders that you were saying things that were unbecoming and the children was out there and they didn't need to hear it.
Right.
So what needs to happen is you need to go see the medicine man. You went through your rites of passage, get you a herbal remedy, so we don't have to come back here no more. Because if we have to come back here again, it ain't gonna be nothing nice.
Right.
See?
So you know what I mean? Yeah, it was community. Right. You know what I mean? That's what community is all about. You know, we see a problem, we have to find a correct way to fix it.
Right. And there's a lot of groups out here that are moving their way, and I'm watching them in terms, and I like to give a little accolades to a lot of the younger brothers, because a lot of times people say, well, ain't nothing going on. But no, I see things going on. I see the Black Panther Party addressing the issue in our community one way in terms of respect. I see Von May and program in the park, Brother D in terms of Black Panther Party and his cadre of brothers, the 414 interrupters that are out here now with Derek Rogers, Chris Conley, Ray Mendoza, Keon Malone Jackson, Andre Lee Ellis with We Got This.
Yeah.
And the key becomes now.
Shout out to Lena Taylor, Hurricane Lena.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about when we talking about, but the women have always made certain things work. For instance, just before I came in, I was talking with Kevin about the fact that how many Black churches would exist in America if Black women wasn't in them.
Right.
None. Not in it. You
None.
Right.
But 90% of them have a male as the head. But they're the ones who make the church work.
Right.
You know, we carry the word because we know we can talk women. We get to talk. We can talk them into a whole lot of different things. Right.
Right.
But in order for it to work, they got to be there. And so a lot of people don't understand that women carry the power in a society. If you look back at traditional African societies, women chose the chief because they wanted to get a man that would keep everybody in mind, not only the men, but the women's and the children as well, the elders. So that's what happened. They deal with that with the power, and they make what we want to have happen take place. Our role was make sure that they're protected, and that's one of the roles that was taken away from us. But now you're beginning to see more and more conversation around protecting our women, and that's going to take place. It's just a matter of time. It's you know.
You know what? There's a movement overall in Black America right now, even with the food, because and we've discussed this, and you can look at me and tell that I don't miss no meal, and I still eat meat, right? But I brought the brother in, and we've had the vegan discussions and talked about the detoxes and the herbal. That's why I say shout out to Nature's Nature, the Vitality capsules, the detox. 414-949-2122. Holla at your boy. He's in the my Facebook group, the People's News Network, which is my Facebook group, which has grown a lot. This is very crazy. So you know, shout out to them for that. You know, to all the people who are really on a movement of self-improvement, right? Because I do see more effort now. I see more people trying to be in a group or in a niche. Like I see people over here who support the Panthers. I see people over here support the Nation of Islam. I see people over here support the Moors. I see all these groups in the community. My problem is that we have no unified tribunal to establish a Black agenda.
Well, let me say this, you know, and I've dealt with this a long time. I got involved over 50 years ago in the Black movement, and I've dealt with a number of different groups. And as long as they was trying to do something positive, I gave my support. But language is very important.
Okay.
And there's a little thing that I talk about called eliminating unification rhetoric.
Okay.
You know, when you ask any group of brothers in the community what we need, or women, they say we need to unify. Is that right? But unity is an abstract. Usually when people say that, they are saying unite around me and my way of thinking. And that ain't likely to happen because we think a lot of different ways. We have a lot of different lanes. But a lot of times when the brothers are, especially brothers who are pushing the word out here, we saying that you will hear brothers, whether they're in business, whether they're in the religious arena, whether they are in the community activist arena, the political arena, the educational arena, they will say things like Black men need to step to the plate. And it has a certain level of validity. But because many of us as Black men have defined ourselves the same way white men have defined themselves in the society, based on how much money we got in our pocket at the time, because a lot of the brothers, if they ain't got no money, they ain't talking. Right? All right. So what happens when we use that language? Others who can't step to the plate financially, because why? For the most part, even that's not the case. They define themselves on their ability to be able to provide. We know a lot of brothers don't even show up to see their children because they can't come the way they want to, because they define themselves on money. So when this language goes out, then the brother who can't step to the plate, if he's there with his woman and children, then his woman looks at him and says, well, why ain't you stepping to the plate? So that language, even if we don't know this brother, and that was not the intent, it embarrasses him and it makes him look small in front of his woman. And when you make a man look bad in front of his women, he don't want to hear nothing you got to say in life.
Nothing.
You can't talk to him about no unity because you my enemy now. You don't tell me nothing about the white man. You my enemy. You done made me look bad for my mom. Because the language should have been black men need to help each other step to the plate.
Okay.
Because what happens a lot of times, brother will use these things like to make themselves look good at the expense of another black man. Look at me, baby. I'm trying to get the attention, so I'm gonna say things that's gonna make me
ritual.
There you go. You see what I'm saying? And we use that language, and that's why it's very hard to come up with a gender. And the thing is that we all have different lanes.
Okay.
And one of the things that I deal with in terms of the culture in traditional villages, we didn't have any money. Okay.
Right.
But everybody had status. So if these brothers' families over here were the medicine people, right? Then if I got sick, that's where my family was. My people might have been the musicians. So when your daughter and son and your people had to have their weddings and anniversaries and they showers and whatever it is, the music had to be right. So they had to come to me. Then there was others who would take the boys out to their rites of passage. They might be gone 3 to 6 months. All the men didn't leave the village.
Right.
So you train the young men to how to come into manhood by initiating them. So they, even though they had seen that role all their lives, they were still too young to understand it. They would take certain things for granted. But by the time they came back from manhood training, they knew what their role was supposed to be. There's others who did the farming. The women, like my wife is a doula, and she deals with an organization of black women here who are doulas, who are delivering the children. All right? Because men traditionally did not go into, the hut to deliver children. It was the women. It was the women, right?
Right. I mean, who better to understand
that's right.
what's going on? You know what I'm saying? But
and the first time I saw roots, it was the first time I ever saw this, because usually in this society, when they were delivering children, I don't know if the women do it now, but the women are laying on their backs and they're going against gravity with their legs up. Whereas when I saw it in roots, they was in a squat position. Right. So they're going right in line with gravity. So
I did not know that. Simply because I cannot remember watching Roots, because it came out so long ago when I was a child, and I've never watched it as an adult. I feel like I don't need to go back to my
man. You go back and watch stuff like that, you see all types of stuff.
I have a problem with slave movies though. Like I know it's just a movie, but it's still I couldn't even watch the Nat Turner thing, because the cruelty of the master pissed me off so early in the movie. I said, I'm not even watching this, right? And it's for me. It hasn't kept me from, because I know the story of Nat Turner. I know it very well, inside out. I read it, but I can't watch it. So like The Help and all these movies where, to me, black people are subjugated. I'm just saying. So you go too hard on The Help and Forrest Whitaker, the butler, and all this. Like, come on, man. We need more powerful stories to move the narrative forward. You don't got to teach me about every slave that I'm a descendant of. Teach me some powerful stories. Teach me about Adam Clayton Powell. Teach me about, W.E.B. Du Bois. Teach me about, even Elijah Muhammad and these kinds of things. Teach me about black men who established an agenda and moved on.
Well, one of the things that we have to look at is we have to look at our struggle in terms of where it has been in this society. And I'm a student of history, and a whole lot of us are. But what takes place is that things is always in motion, even if we don't know it's in motion.
Okay.
So I brought this little thing. I did a little thing, and I was tracking historical cycles. And I was looking at them in 50-year cycles, and I just did 4 of them. For instance, 1860, black people many of us were enslaved Africans, especially in the South, but there was a lot of black people that were not enslaved in the North. Right? And so what took place, the Civil War was fought over this enslavement. The first 2 years of the Civil War, 1861 to 1863, the South militarily kicked the North's butt.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What changed the battle where 2 years later, the Civil War was over? Black soldiers.
Exactly.
Right?
Same the NBA.
Because we came out there with a different kind of passion.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Coming out because we had a whole lot of memories of parents who had been separated from
we
children.
For we don't want to go through.
That's right. And wasn't go through it.
Exactly.
So then during that time, right after that Civil War, for the first 20 years, usually of a 50-year cycle that I've tracked, our energies are off the chain. So from 1865 to 1880, we had Black Reconstruction.
Yes,
Black elected officials are all over, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also during that period of time, we had Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, a lot of things. But then by 1880, with the Hayes-Tilden election, what they decided to do was to pull the troops out of the South that was protecting Black people and let the Klan go loose. That's what took place, all right? So we were down for a number of years, but go 50 years from 1860, 1910, 50 years, right? So we on an upcycle again. What was happening in 1910? Well, in 1909, the NAACP formed, and they began to address the conditions of lynching of Black men in America. All right.
Okay.
W.B. Du Bois was there. All right. With Garvey came to the United States in 1914.
Right.
With the African movement. Negro History Month, 1926, Carter Woodson. The Harlem Renaissance, the Nation of Islam formed in 1930. World War II in 1914, Black soldiers decorated all over France for the war. The Red Summer of 1919, riots all over America, right? The Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921, the first bombing of American City.
Black Wall Street.
Yep.
Jack Johnson, immediately after he won the heavyweight championships, riots everywhere. And there's a lot of other things. But that went all the way up to about 1929. And what changed it? The Depression.
That's right.
Depression all over. Fast forward now. 1910, 50 years, 1960 to 1980. What you got? Civil rights movement, Black Power movement, the March on Washington, the Birmingham bombing. They killed Medgar Evers. They killed Malcolm X, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King in 68. You had also things like Motown, Philly, so Stax, and a lot of the memories.
Solar.
Right? The music that was in the love that fired us up was pushing. You had the Olympic protests. You had the National Black Political Assembly. You had the Vietnam War. All right? And then that went from 1960 to 1980. What stopped it? War on drugs. War on drugs and the crack cocaine.
Yeah, Reaganomics, right? Yes.
So now we've been in a down cycle, but 50 years from 1960, what do you get? 2010. This is where we are now. Black President Obama in 1908, right? Black Lives Matter, Colin Kaepernick, the whole thing with Bill Cosby, all right? The veganism that you talked about. A lot of our people are changing their diets, and your diet affects your energy so that you have an opportunity now to carry out your agenda.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so this story still ain't been told. It's at least we in 2019 and look at all the stuff that's going on. The African countries have apologized, a number of them. They're inviting Black people back. You know, you have more and more people challenging the existing system of capitalism that they know that ain't right. And it's even white people. You see the Me Too movement amongst women that's challenging. And it's an exciting time out here.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you brothers here, look at what has happened in terms of Facebook, the internet. African brother invented the internet. Another brother from here invented the PC computer. Another brother, the cell phone. A sister, the GPS. So basically, a lot of the means of communication that we have was all created by us. Where people might look at it as a business thing, we're using it as a means by which to get the message out to go ahead and address the conditions of the community.
That's dope.
Just like y'all doing it here tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Pedagogy is the word I believe they use.
That was deep. Heavy, man. Heavy.
Yeah, I believe how the way you teach. which is pedagogy,
Man,
which is
listen,
the word that
hey,
intellectuals use.
let me tell you, man, I look at him as my coach, you know,
Okay.
and you I don't know if you could tell, but I'm very quiet. Like I get around him, man, and it's hard to talk. You know what I'm saying? Because I'll be so caught up in the listening to him, man. I love this brother right here.
No doubt,
Yeah.
man. And he got a lot of love through the community. I'm just like, I love the fact, the context of it, because I myself am a student of history as well. Like, so all those periods that you went through, I've broken them down the same way, but mine have different names. Like, because I look at Jim Crowism, which I'm a descendant of. I'm a product of the Great Migration. I'm of that generation that left the South and said, no, this ain't gonna work no more. Now, according to my mom, she got here and it was still kind of the same thing in a different bag, but it was a different way to approach it. But the 80s, the Reaganism is very interesting, because what the brother was referencing is a time in the 70s, in particular in Milwaukee, in which we had what you really had is a black middle class. Black people here had the highest standard of living in this country.
That's right.
We were owning properties, we were starting businesses, we were running these. Believe it or not, NPS was working. You know, thanks to brother Lloyd Barbie, who came in and, you know, on the heels of Groppy, who looks like Woody Allen, right? Which is a funny coincidence. But I'm saying, like, historically, our stay here in Milwaukee is something that I've always studied as well, from the formation of the Urban League here, and then the NAACP, Commandos, and you get the Panthers, and all the way up to my political hero, which has always been Mike McGee Sr. You know, I always tell people when I was little, I had like 3 or 4 black dudes: my daddy, Jim Brown, and Mike McGee Sr. Them was my 3 favorite black dudes in the world when I was growing up, right? So I had to know what one of them 3 was doing at all times. But I'm just saying that historical context should give us a lot of perspective as to what we should be doing now. Now, when we reference Obama, see, I love Obama, but I don't love what Obama did as the president. And I'm just going to say this. I understand I did the checks and balances, but I think it was such a wasted opportunity to, if nothing else, establish a black agenda and at least plant the seeds so that the Black Caucus and all these people will be able to legislatively move forward to, that's how you get law enforcement reform. That's how you get criminal justice. America, you got to do it legislatively. You won't get it by throwing rocks. Trust me. This is not Soweto. So that's all. When I take a look at the historical perspective, that's usually what I come up with and say, damn, it did feel good to see that black president. And my kids' perspective is so much broader than mine, because I grew up with President Reagan. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right. The crack epidemic is what defines, you know, me and you, we 80s and 90s, baby.
Right.
So we lived up to 85, and this city was beautiful, and it was all good. And then it went to hell in a handbasket. Right. And that's how you ended up standing on the corner with your hat turned somewhere, trying to get off 215. So it's just the context historically of what they've done to us. And that's why I get more frustrated with Obama. Like, I kind of feel like you don't really get it because you from Hawaii and you're not a mainlander. So
let me give you a different view of Obama.
Okay.
All right.
I welcome that.
All right. When I was a youth growing up in Chicago, the barbershop was where I got a large part of my political understanding of things, even though I didn't know a lot of what was going on at my uncle's garage, because black men would always be around. They'd be talking about sports. They'd be talking about women, politics, and the white man. And the conversation around the white man was always, the white man won't let us do this, the white man won't let us do that, the white man, the white man, the white man. When Obama was first running for office, is that they had an AP poll, and they asked women, black women, who were they going to looking at voting for? And they said Hillary Clinton. And the minute I heard that, I started going to him. I said, did you ever tell your son he could grow up to be president? Because you know that's what they do, is that right?
Right.
And I say, well, but you go vote for Hillary over Obama? Well, after a while, that changed. And you couldn't say nothing about Obama to black women. You still can't, because it was like they minister, right? But what took place was Obama you know, you got to look at the conditions of what goes on. Let's give you another history lesson. I pointed out in 1968, King got killed,
Yes.
Robert Kennedy got killed. They beat up the people at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. The country was at a morale low. So the next year, what did they come up with? They came up with, we sent a man to the moon. Right. There's a distraction to try to lift the morale. Well, 40 years later, what's going on? In 2008, the housing crisis, the banking crisis, Afghanistan, Iraq, right? So they needed something once again to lift the morale of the people. So what do you come up with? Barack Obama.
Yes, no doubt.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now,
yes.
The Obama effect. So they got Obama. Now what happened?
I'm sorry. It's just so fun to hear somebody say this other than my day.
Yeah.
Go ahead, brother.
So then what happened? Obama became the man.
Yes.
Up until that time, the white man was always the man, but Obama became the man. On his inauguration night, they would say, what, at least 15 white men got together and say, we ain't gonna allow for nothing that Obama do to work.
Right.
Is that all right? Because what happened, it was, once again, it's about that image. So what takes place? One of the things that we know, and I always tell the brothers this in terms of how when women say certain things, if they want to get next to you and dig into that ego that you mentioned earlier, brother.
Yes, sir.
Well, one of the things that you saw was that white women was disgruntled about the Obama thing because, see, they didn't get their chance first.
Right.
And what took place was also, you know, as black men, we got the right to vote before white women did in America. And so now you got these movements that begin to start. So now if I want to dig at the white man's ego, I say, hey, look here, you ain't the man no more. Right. So what, after Obama's election, what they come out? We got to make America great again.
Right.
We coming to take our country back.
Right.
And so now you see these constant clashes between not only our men and women, but white men and women. They steadily battling every day. You see this that's going on. And then what's taking place is like, that was what I call the Obama effect. The youth, like you were talking about your son, when we was at Claiborne Benson's place on 27th in Wisconsin, 27th in Center, when we came out of there on the corner of 35th and Center, we was going home, there was black youth on every corner raising Cain. I mean,
yes,
positively. Police was out there, they wasn't messing with nobody. So what happens is they see a different time. They saw us, Obama, if it was not, even if it wasn't nothing but an image, it was an image of us being in charge. And that's the key, you know what I'm saying? Wanting to be the most powerful position in the world, the president of America.
Right.
And now, a lot of times you got folks talking about Trump. I mean, it ain't just us.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's them too now.
Yeah, it's them too. Every night you turn on and people have abandoned him. He can't keep a cabinet. He fired everybody. He fired everybody.
I think so. It's probably all new people.
Right. He fires everybody.
Ain't no loyalty.
Nah,
We were telling on each other.
They're telling on each other. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the Obama effect. Because Obama was in there 8 years with no scandal.
Right. Yeah, it's a residual. It's like a wave that went through white people. And they said, we'll never have another nigger in a White House again.
And it won't make a difference.
Right.
Now it won't.
I do think it was dope. Like we had touched on the kids, you know what I mean? I think it's dope for their visual. They see the visual, and then that visual got them thinking too now. They see a black man as the president.
That's the audacity of hope.
So now I could do anything. You know what I mean? I could be anybody I want to be.
And they got that kind of attitude.
They don't know. They don't know that he did that.
But they've taken it to a point of entitlement, which we'll talk about as well. If you're just tuning in, it is the Warrior Report on Wednesday nights. As we always do, the People's Network
come on in.
Presents the Warrior Report, in which we talk about Black wellness and Black male wellness. Tonight we have a very special guest, the elder Mr. Anthony Courtney, with us, having a very important conversation about everything that's applicable to being Black. So I hope you enjoy this. Hit like, hit share, hit follow. We do have a YouTube page. You need to subscribe to the YouTube page, because it looks a lot better, it sounds a lot better, and it's YouTube.
The People's Network.
Well, yo, we don't really have a footprint on YouTube that represents Milwaukee, right? Like you should support this because every other major city and coast and region, they have some sort of a representation on YouTube. And I like to present Milwaukee with some sophistication and some class. There is a wild side to Milwaukee. I'm familiar with it. I was once a cheerleader for foolishness, but now I use my powers for good, which is why we do a show like this. I wanted to, because we shouted out, you referenced Coffee Makes You Black. I wanted to shout out Coffee Makes You Black because they're going through some difficulties with the city, like construction, right? And which we've been screaming about these streets for years, right? And Bear's been sitting on his money, putting it everywhere except for the right, not putting everywhere except for paint for where it ain't, right? So now we got the construction, which has a lot to do with Evers, and I don't want to get into all that because that's our radio thing, but it's choking out a lot of local Black businesses. Coffee Makes You Black being one of them. So I've seen a lot of references on social media, a lot of pictures today of people making a conscious effort to go in there and patronize the business. And I want to shout you out because I was at work. I couldn't go. I was on the plantation. I was picking. But shout out to you if you went there. And this is why we shout out Mr. Terry down at 3041 North and every Black business, even Dynamic Movement Dance Studios, which is brother reached out to me and said, hey, I watched the show. I love how that you all promote what we doing. I want in. I said, you in. You in the family.
Well,
right?
That's community.
Yes.
Community.
Yes. And shout out to the Sherman Phoenix because we're going to be live from the Sherman Phoenix real soon. Real soon. Go ahead, brother. I get excited.
Oh, no. I was just going to build on what you said. That's all. I was just finna get on the Sherman Phoenix a bit,
right.
Talk about that. I'm pretty sure we said, when did we say was the,
well, it's coming up. It's coming up because I'm working around my son's schedule. My son plays sports, and he's on a traveling football team. So we go from between here and Chicago to play games. I want to make sure that Saturday is clear because sometimes the games are on Saturday and sometimes on Sunday. I probably should have been told you that. But we were going to talk about it tonight. Right. So, but no, we got it coming. It's coming. Don't worry about it. It's going to be a beautiful, good look for the show. It's going to be a beautiful look for the city. Because the North Side got to stand up, man. If this is where they put us at and said, because I always, growing up, I referred to Milwaukee, even when I went off to school and I played ball and I was from other cities and cats would say, well, where you from? And I said, I'm from Milwaukee. And they'd be like, it's Black people in Milwaukee? I'd be like, fool, it's Chocolate City on the North Side. That's what I used to always say. Because the North Side was where we owned, my parents owned their home. The community was owned. It was ours. Somebody seen you acting up on 18.
Didn't they say this is the most segregated city?
Oh, no, it is.
United States?
No doubt. But it's set up that way historically. That's why I'm glad to have my brother here because if you look at Milwaukee as a last stop in the Great Migration, this was one of the last places we came. We gave them a lot of time to establish a racist power base. And it was Germans. It was all, and they were having a great time up here. We lived under the lake and we got our own city. So you look at the Black population in Milwaukee in 1940 being about 10, 15,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Elder. You get to 1960, it's 50 to 75,000 of us. So that's a period where white people watching this influx saying, oh, hell, what are we going to do? So Milwaukee this how cold racism is in Milwaukee. The Civil Rights Act was passed in, I believe, 1964, right? Brown versus the Board of Education was passed in 1955, right? Milwaukee did not desegregate schools until 1978, and it was forced by Lord Barbie.
Right.
Judge John Reynolds, who said, oh, shoot, how did we miss this? Now, if the Civil Rights Act passes in 1964, you don't get open housing in Milwaukee until 1968. So what I'm saying is the white people here is called Puerto Ricans. They've always been able to circumvent the system and do it. You ain't finna force us to deal with these niggas. Now we're in a situation where you gotta deal with us. Because now your kid is coming down to the ghetto looking for opioids. He's coming down looking for some weed. He's coming down trying to see millennials, they don't want to live in the suburbs like their parents. They want to live an urban lifestyle. So they want to be able to come outside and go to the resale shop and sip coffee and all kinds of exotic flavors on the sidewalk. But that leads to gentrification, which is what's happening on the north side of Milwaukee right now as we speak. Don't get it twisted, okay? The projects cannot sit 10 minutes from a $500 million stadium for long.
Right.
Those people have to be relocated. That is prime property, right? So I don't, I get on my soapbox. I'm sorry, y'all. You know how we do it, man. I know how we do it. Go ahead, brother.
Well, when you mentioned gentrification, one of the things that I laugh about, Andre Nieves used to have the theater company.
Yes, sir.
And he did this play by Douglas Turner Ward called A Day of Absence. And I've been trying to get Andre to bring that back, or either Willie Abney and Hansberry Sands.
Okay.
But Day of Absence was about a day when they could not find Black people.
Right.
And the ones that was in the hospital was in a comatose state. And on that day, the folks that were the maids and stuff, they with nobody showing up for work, they couldn't find them. The Klan was out picketing, talking about bring our niggas back. Because otherwise they didn't have no relevancy. And so that what takes place is that, gentrification, they don't really understand. As they move us out and move them in, there's one market that we as Black people have always controlled and people don't recognize it, is the happiness market.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because it don't take us much to be happy.
Right.
If you ever watch the PBS shows, you ever watch, and I always associated Michael Jackson as being the Pied Piper. Now, if you know the story about the Pied Piper,
yes, we do.
It's like in Europe, they was trying to get rid of the rats. And so they brought in the Pied Piper and they were supposed to pay him, right?
Right.
Well, they didn't give him his money. So he played another tune and all the children left.
Yes.
Well, Michael Jackson, as far as I was concerned, was the Pied Piper. Michael Jackson could make moves that make people cry.
Mm-hmm.
On dance move, and even over in Asia, a lot of them didn't even understand the language.
Yeah. That's the worst Asian accent ever. I'm working on it.
And even though they made a lot of money with Michael Jackson, they did not like Michael Jackson because, like you said, a lot of the youth, they want to come back in and they buy the most rap music.
Mm-hmm.
They buy a lot of it because why? They're looking for happiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see, happiness is a driving force in everybody's life.
Yeah, everybody.
But it ain't for sale.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people think that just because you got money, you buy happy. It ain't the case. And so a lot of times they don't deal with a lot of things that Black people deal with because they think that money, but like how many of them gonna be able to pay for them student loans that they got in college?
Right.
All right.
Hit me upside my head.
Right. Working 2 jobs with a college degree, working 2 shoe store jobs or McDonald's jobs. One thing I wanted to point out too, in terms of young brothers, when I was teaching school, and when I decided to go back into teaching school in 1992, and when I decided to go back in, the superintendent, Robert Peterkin, was talking about the establishment of Black male academies. And myself, this brother named Hubert Canfield, this brother Shango Ron Johnson, a few other brothers, we helped promote that idea. And so when I decided to go back in school, I decided to go, they said they wouldn't allow for Black male academies. So I found the closest thing to it. And that was at Lapham Park. The school was 100 students and 95 of them were Black men. And there was only 5 girls in the whole school. So I talked to the principal at the time, Dorothy Travers, to put all the girls in one class with whatever boys, with 20 other boys, and then all the others classes were Black boys. And the reason being is that in a class with just Black men, you can say things that you can't say if there's women in the other room. And so sometimes we would have certain sessions. And then I would also do this, like do assemblies in Chicago to get into young Black men, how they really see the world. And so when I would do these assemblies, I would ask the question, I would say that the question was, how many of you believe in sex before marriage? And so if I got a young man, how many of them raising their hand?
All of them.
All right. So let's say I got 250 in assembly, they raise their hand. So then I ask the question, I'll say, okay. And a lot of times the young women there, I say, okay, you go look at the brother and see what the truth is in the day. I say, okay, brothers, tell me the truth. Raise your hand. When you get married and have a daughter and she becomes a teenager, how many of you will believe in sex before marriage for your teenage daughter? How many hands I got now? None. I say, sisters, you see that? I say, okay, brothers, many of you have teenage sisters at home, blood sisters. How many of you believe in sex before marriage for your teenage sister? Raise your hand. How many hands? One brother yelled out one day, well, they go do it anyway. I say, I didn't ask you what they go do.
Right.
I say, because if you study your history and tradition, you will find that when our young women turn 15, 16 in African societies and their menstrual cycle started, their conception vessel full, they got married. They got a husband, so they can have all the sex that they want. Okay? I said, okay, many of you brothers come from single parent households, but even if you did, let's say your mom and dad was married, she becomes a widow through his death, or they get a divorce. I say, how many of you brothers want a man to approach your mama to get something? How many hands? None. I say, now wait a minute. These brothers told me they believe in sex before marriage.
Right.
But when it came to their daughter, their sister, and their mama, I didn't see the hands.
My daddy used to call that ain't no fun when the rabbit got the
That's
gun.
right. So I say, now what's the truth of that thing?
Right.
They already know it's in their ancestral DNA that anything ain't good enough for their daughter, sister, their mama, they shouldn't be dealing with other women. The only question now is whether or not they choose to live the truth and restore themselves to their rightful position of running their own world.
Right.
And that's the same issue with black men. You know, we're at a point where whether or not is that we know that there's things that we have to do, right?
Right.
The only question now is whether or not we live the truth. We've talked about it long enough. We got the insight. There's really nothing a whole lot new that can be put out there. The question now is about doing.
Right.
But the key becomes eliminating the rhetoric, the unification rhetoric, and recognizing that this is a puzzle.
Okay.
You know, we all in it. We just may be in different parts of it. But what happens to me over here in the puzzle affects what happened to you over there. My great grandmother, when myself and my brother, that's the only two of us lived together for a period of time. She used to have a saying. She knew she could neither read nor write, but she had the key to unity. And the key to unity that she gave us was, don't you never think you know better than nobody else. And ain't nobody else know better than you.
That's it.
You see, because there's no piece in a 1,000-piece puzzle that's more important than the other one.
Right.
Because if you took the box top off and picked them up one at a time and asked what the picture was going to be, you could guess 999 times, if not 1,000, still be wrong.
Right.
Because on the box top could be a picture of seals on the desert, which don't make no sense. I pick them up one at a time. Now, what takes place? Most together, even though they don't know what the box top is, there are certain principles involved, right? Most people are going to start by putting the corners together, or what you call the edge.
That's how, you know, I was just putting a puzzle with my daughter together, and that's how I taught her how to do it. But so put the edges together first.
That's right. Now, even when you put all the edges there, still don't tell you what the picture is. So let's say that the edges represent leadership in our community. Some leadership is facing east, some west, some north, some south. The role of leadership is to go out, get the information, bring it back to facilitate the putting together of our puzzle in our community. As the brother talked about an agenda. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
right.
Sir.
So what happens is that when we start putting that puzzle together, you don't just work straight across in a puzzle. You work colors and shapes and colors and shapes, and pretty soon you got enough pieces in place where long before it's finished, you know what the picture gonna be. We now have 999 pieces in place. We know what the picture gonna be. We put the last piece in, puzzle complete. We like this puzzle, so we go do it another 999 times. So now here come the questions. Which piece is first in a 1,000-piece puzzle?
Right. Which one do you start with?
Right.
Whichever one you pick up, because ain't no numbers on them.
Right. But if you could get, I swear that is beautiful, and like I say, that is beautiful, and it's so it's ideology too.
Now you see why I shut up. I
I'm
just shut
saying
up.
just from my personal experience of really being boots on the ground, frontline, grassroots organization, activism in the community, knee deep up to my chin, to the point where you got to watch the car behind you when you're on your way home after the meeting. And I seen all these pieces, but I didn't see a machine. I seen all of these gears and these cogs, but they couldn't coexist. They couldn't, for whatever reason, there was no big picture. There was no blueprint. There was nobody who was able to say, no, put this here. Like you say, let's start in the corner. There was not one person who was on that, because everybody who had a movement or a group only wanted to execute their agenda.
Well, see what takes place. Let me just finish on this little puzzle thing. Is that what takes place is this. So we put this puzzle together. Every piece can be first, and every piece can be last if we do it 1,000 times. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
Right, right. So that means that no piece is more important than another.
Okay.
That's right. Just like in the community, we all have different lanes. And as groups, we do different things.
Yes.
And what happens is that things still get done. People say nothing happening. Well, just because you don't know it ain't happening, don't mean it ain't happening.
Right.
Right. Y'all up here, people say, come and say, these brothers talking crazy out here. Well, a lot of folks is watching, and more gonna be watching. And there's other brothers and sisters that's gonna be doing things because we're in the cycle where the energy is up.
Yeah.
And the cycle is gonna be there for a while.
Right.
Yes.
So what it comes back to, if there's no piece in the puzzle that's more important than other, comes right back to what my great grandmother said, that could neither read nor write. Don't you never think you know better than nobody else.
Right.
And ain't nobody else better than you. Because once we begin to do that, then that's what keeps us apart. So we have to change our language in terms of how we refer to it, because the word is very powerful. You know, and we have to stop using the word to try to make ourselves look better at the expense of somebody else.
Exactly. You know, I'm glad you touched on the puzzle thing also, because I look at all the different Black organizations in our community.
Yeah.
And I look at all of them as a piece to a puzzle.
Yes.
Because they all got something to offer to our plight as a whole. You know what I mean? Okay, we got some over here that's into law. You know what I mean? We need to be real. We need to be hip to the law. We need somebody on our team on that end too. You know, then we got some people over here with the security, you know, and the discipline. You know what I mean? And then we got people over here, you know, like we was talking about their happiness. Well, this is what we pushing. This, that inner peace is what we pushing. You know, so it's a piece to the puzzle all over, but we just have to figure out how to, like Malcolm X said, leave our leader religion at home. There you go. And now let's go to work.
Yeah,
you know
well, even the further quote, one of my favorite is Minister Louis Farrakhan, who said, we ain't worried about religion. We don't know what the hell it means anyway. We're gonna argue about that when we get free. He said that a couple of years ago. And we played it. And that's when I did it differently then, but I used to have my sound clips that I could play, so we would always hammer that. When he said, we ain't arguing about religion. We don't know what the hell it means anyway. So, you know, but the big picture for me, brothers, like what I totally, everything you said is 100% true. My personal thing is just watching brothers in our community who have that power to really, if everybody just said, you know what, I'm gonna leave my stuff over here today. I'm going to this table with a fresh, open mind, with my greatest spirit of cooperation I've ever had. And I'm gonna sit down and say, if that's what you want to do, brother, I'll support you. I'm gonna put mine over here. Everybody else who say, because that's how you get an agenda. You don't have no meeting about having a meeting. And that's what we do now. We have a meeting, then we say, when we gonna meet again? We're gonna meet in 2 weeks. So really, you didn't solve nothing, you didn't set an agenda, you just had a meeting about having a meeting. And then when you come back the next time, you wonder why nothing's done, because there was no agenda established, no direction given, no delegation, nobody said, okay, we'll handle this over here for that. Okay, we got this part. Even if we got to break up into subcommittees, it's, okay, y'all got this part? Okay, well, let's communicate during the week and let each other know about our progress. It's like when we come back somebody, because, you know, we allow the powers that be, you know, some people call it COINTELPRO, Some people call it whatever they want. I call it the feds, the alphabet boys. They will get in somebody's ear and say, hey, let me make you an offer that you cannot refuse. And a dollar to a dime, that brother gonna say, hey, I'm left with no choice. So out the window goes the whole, like, it's just like we start, we build, we stop, it collapses, we start again because we persevere. Black people persevere better than everybody.
Right.
When you literally tried everything from biological and chemical warfare to outright, let's just shoot them in the streets. Now you've attacked our family structure, which is something else I want to talk with the brother about before we leave. The Black family, because we all agree unilaterally on our show that one of our biggest issues is the structure of the Black family has been damaged. It's not damaged beyond repair, but that's what got us through, because Big Mama and them got us through. And they went through some viciousness. Like, you know, I was sitting listening to my grandmother talk about, my mother would talk about being in Mississippi when Emmett Till was hanged, and her mother was so scared that she made them hide under the house every time they heard a truck coming down the road. So can you imagine in Mississippi, I don't know if you've ever been there, the way those houses used to be built, where the dogs basically and chickens went under the house, and they had to lay under the house in complete darkness and silence because the people were so scared that, oh, they didn't kill, you know, Emmett Till, they finna start killing us all. Imagine living under that kind of fear. But those are the families that got us over. They got somebody left, and, you know, he brought her, and they all, pretty soon, they was the only person down there left was grandmama and them. That's why we went down there so much in the 80s. Good Lord, we went to Mississippi a lot. So I'm just saying, that kind of thing with Black people, to have that on our backs, it's like conflict and fear and trauma is like embedded in our DNA, and it's ruined our family structure.
Well, one of the things that's true, but also in our DNA is never giving up.
Yes, sir. I agree. That's that perseverance.
That's perseverance, because had those of our ancestors that came over on the boat had jumped off, I wouldn't be talking to y'all. Is that right?
Right.
So evidently, if that's the way our ancestors came, we got to thank them for not giving up, because they went through a whole lot of stuff that we ain't even went through. And so what has taken place with the Black family is like, it's a process where, yes, we had to go through some things, but not all Black people back down. Not all Black people succumbed to the system. There were those who were willing to risk their lives because they refused to be walking zombies. You see, when you look at the zombie shows, you know, we got a lot of people out here that are walking zombies. So, you know, we have to try to encourage everybody, because you don't have to do nothing. So, but some people are driven to do something because they can't do nothing else. You can have 100 people looking at the same thing, and only one out of that 100 say, I'm going for it, because they got to live with themselves. Now, but don't expect the other 99 to do that. What happens is you have to prove yourself, because, you know, we've been, as you said, so many people have been bought off in the past that a lot of times people are skeptical about what you say. Your actions got to go along with what it is that you say. So you got to be steadfast. Then you get a few recruits. But then you turn around, everybody, I'm with you. You turn around, they bust you upside the head. And then Black folks look and say, well, can he get up? So you get up, you get a few more converts, and you talk again, and you got that little bitty group, and they doing it. And then you out there, you turn around, they bust you upside the head again. Oh, we got them a good lick. Because first of all, they got to see whether or not you for real and stand the test of time if you want them to hook in with you to follow. They got to know what they got. You see, and so that it goes over even with the Black family, is that we're going to fix that problem, but it had to get to a level, you know, because it was orchestrated, as you pointed out earlier, brother, to break our families up.
Yes,
right.
sir.
But what happens, it has to get to the level where is a lot of our youth now are showing us the value of family, because they don't listen to the adults in many cases, because they don't see us as happy. And if somebody's life is all messed up and they trying to tell you how to live yours,
you ain't listening to them.
It ain't gonna work.
There you go.
You can't tell me nothing.
That's right. And so the youth have come to the conclusion in many cases that maybe I don't know what to do, but I definitely know what not to do.
Right,
I
right.
ain't gonna listen to what you
Mhm.
talking about.
Yeah.
You see,
You know, I'm sorry, but,
No,
but
no.
yeah, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I like to talk about the leaders in our community. You know, the things we teach and we have to live it. You know, and we have to live this truth that we speak and that we're teaching out here, that we pushing, because how somebody gonna believe you? Like you said, if you ain't living it, if I don't see you doing it, it ain't working for you. Well, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you know, I be out here nowadays, and it's a lot of people who I know from the past, and they talk about how much happier I seem. You know what I mean? And,
Oh, you a different dude. Trust me.
yeah, you know what I mean?
No, you are.
But-
I tell you that all the time.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
no
But
doubt.
you know what I mean? But that just comes from
You're a walking
learning.
testimony.
That comes from learning something better and living.
that's right. And our people would do better if they knew better.
Mhm.
And the other thing that we have to do is we have to recognize, this is a statement, that God produces whatever people we need for any particular period of time in our history to facilitate the forward progress of the group.
Right.
Individuals come and go,
Mm-hmm.
but the masses maintain,
Mm-hmm.
you see, and that's what we have to look at. And then we also have to recognize this, is that whatever your religious persuasion, we all, for the most part, there's a little triangle that we see out here that says body, mind, and spirit. Most of us in this society, we try to do everything physically or mentally. We think we go figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is a lot of times we leave God out of the equation. We leave the spirit, but the spirit, whatever it is that you're trying to do, you know why you want to do it, but the spirit determines when it happens
Mm-hmm.
and how it gets done.
Exactly.
We don't do that.
Exactly.
The spirit you might have a 5-year plan, and the spirit say, no, not to 10,
Mm-hmm.
because I'll send you who you need
Right.
at that,
You know,
at that 10.
Yeah, we gotta trust the process.
That's right.
That's
Some people will say, I got a 10-year plan, and the spirit might send you one person, one time in your life, that give you the insight that what you need to carry out that agenda.
Right.
So people come into our lives for a reason, a
Mhm.
season, or a lifetime.
Yeah. When the student is ready, the teacher will
There
be.
you go.
Okay.
There
You
you
know?
go. And that's what we have to begin. We're people who operate out of the spirit. And this is why when you look at the churches and stuff, and you look at them civil rights movements and various, when our spirit is up, can't nothing
Mhm.
stop us.
That's right. That's right.
And right now, our spirit is up.
Exactly.
It's a
You know
new
what?
energy. It's
I think,
energy.
you know, that goes back, you know, he was talking to unity. You know, okay, it's cool if we can figure out how to unite, but not just unite, but we have to unite under the same frequency, the same thoughts. You know what I mean? We want to have the same agenda. We want the same goals for each other. Like I say, it's a plight that we carry, all of us. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Get at, you know what I mean? So it's more than just unite, but it's also uniting with the right thoughts.
Well, one of the things is ain't gonna be no one organization.
Right. No, never.
If we got 100 organizations right now, we need 5,000.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, because what
Mhm.
happened is that when you got that many people in it, they're working for
Group thing.
the right thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what make a difference.
Mhm.
Then the energies will think about we can support each other. That's what
Right.
I'm saying. We don't need no one organization. We need 5,000 organizations.
I always say black people, it comes down to 3 S's for us.
Mhm.
There's sovereignty, there's separation, and then there's solidarity.
Mhm.
And I say, which one are we really ready for right now?
Mhm.
I don't personally believe we're ready for sovereignty at all.
No.
I don't believe we're ready for separatism either. But I do believe we are ready and prepared for solidarity. So when we say one movement, you know, what George Clinton say, one nation under God,
Mhm.
under a
Mhm.
groove, right?
Right,
You
right.
know, nothing can stop us now, is what he'd say, right?
Mhm.
So you got to think about it like that. And I know that sounds cliche, and I used to have a band on my show, like you couldn't say come together
Mhm.
because it's such a cliche and it's such a blanket statement, because what does that even mean? Well, we come together all the time,
All the time.
Mhm.
but we don't come together for the right things all the time.
Right, right.
Because if I was fighting, or we was on here right now, we had drama, we was Facebook Live, and I hollered at my, hey fam, we got drama over here. Everybody get over here right now. I would have so many people that's outside camp. Where it said we ready to get down. But if I say, hey man, come on, as Brother Jay say, gather around the fire for the scroll that I deliver. If I said that, Brothers are like, man, I ain't trying to. I'm gonna go over to the Victors or something and see them throw a few dollars for something.
Well, you know what? Don't take everybody to get things done.
Okay.
There's a little saying that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few.
Right.
Right. You don't ever have a whole lot of people that puts into motion the things that need to get done. But the people themselves know what good for them. They just don't know how to address it.
Yes.
But what happens is like when I talk about the spirit, if the intent is right, then the spirit, God will bring it into motion. You see what I'm saying? Now, a lot of our young people now, they've gotten away from what we call traditional religion. You see more and more people tapping into themselves. All right. Tapping into the God that exists within them. All right. And you see a lot of that taking place. People more and more, you see the spiritual aspect, all as a matter of fact, it's happening all over the world. It's happening with all people. You know what I'm saying? And what takes place is that when you talk about the solidarity, you see more and more people that are forming that's challenging the existing system because they know it ain't right.
Right.
Nobody never have to tell you when you're doing wrong.
Right.
You will always get that little voice that will come to you, say, you know, you ain't doing right.
Or that feeling, right here.
That's that feeling. That's right.
Or that feeling right here.
When I was teaching high school at Cornerstone, and one day I walked in the cafeteria, it was an alternative school, about 12 of my students were in there, and they was having a debate about whether or not God existed. So they gonna bring me into the debate. You know, after I walked in, Mr. Courtney, you believe in God? I looked at him and I played it off with that saying, no. I said, I know God. I said, you know God too. I said, you ever got ready to do something wrong and a little voice or feeling come to you, say, you know you ain't doing right? I say, what happened when you didn't listen? I say, how did things turn out? 100% of them. Mr. Courtney didn't turn out right. I say, it never does.
Right.
I say, because in this society, they say it's your conscience. I say, no, that's God talking to you. And I say, when you don't listen and you know you ain't doing right, it's like you think that you will be climbing this ladder of success because your animal brain is saying, I got to have this. I say, and you climbing up one rung at a time and you think you going somewhere. And just for you ready to reach that ultimate goal that you thought you was going, your foot slipped. And you don't go down that ladder one step at a time. When you go down, you hit the bottom. And now you got to reassess, take a butt whooping, and try to come up with the right answer. But a lot of cats, they hard head. So they go back up the ladder the same way. And they coming back down the same way.
You heard it the first time.
Right, but some of us learn. So just like the brother say, man, you different than what you was before. Yeah, because we learn. And God is merciful in the fact that we get another chance. A lot of people don't get another chance.
Right.
That's a whole different kind of conversation as to why.
Definitely. You're going to keep bumping your head with the same problems if you don't learn the lesson.
And the miraculous part of this has been an hour and 30 minutes and ain't nobody looked for the time yet. But unfortunately, y'all know we can't. Because I like to leave you wanting more. So this brother just totally assured me that he has to come back. First of all, because we can build on this conversation and take it in so many different levels. Because we hit so many different topics tonight. It is the Warrior Report with myself and Brother Kamar Carter and the Elder Anthony Courtney. I want to give you a chance to leave something for the people before we close it out. Like whatever you think the definitive statement that needs to be made, because this show will be shared. It'll be all over Facebook. It's going to be all over YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. So I want you to be able to give us something so that can at least get us till tomorrow night when we do Outlaw Radio and go completely crazy. Because this was like church compared to what we're going to do tomorrow night. There's just so much going on. I'm socio-political on Thursdays and I come out with both guns blazing, but I want you to just really have the stage and be able to lead the people with something that they can take with them.
Well, the thing is we have to begin to return to the traditions of our ancestors and recognize that it is our time in order. We were brought here to cultivate a society that did not know how to live. And we have gone ahead and made great contributions. And now we're at a time that not only must we save ourselves, but we must save the other people as well.
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
Brother Bull, you got something. I want to thank you, my brother, for bringing the elder to the
Hey man, I
to
had
the forum, and you kept saying, "Nah, man, I'm doing this," and I'm like, "Well, what? Hold on, nah, man, bring the elder." So I want to thank you.
OG call. It's an OG call.
Yeah. I got bullied a little bit on the platform. It's all good. I feel like, and shout out to Mrs. the wife,
Miss Courtney.
Mrs. Courtney as well. She's here, so I hear a lot of people raving about that vegan food that she prepares.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't get to touch on that.
Oh man.
So I hear a lot of people. We're gonna have to get some of that next time you all
gumbo,
come.
Let
me get this cord for you.
Okay.
Let me get that.
All right.
We're gonna have to get some of that good vegan. Y'all know I like to eat on the air. So if y'all do shit, if y'all a chef or something like that, I will eat your food on the air and tell you it's man. So I say shout out to Chef Monique Brown in 3041 North. And please attend Miss Serena Brown's Get Motivated, Get Healthy seminar. You're gonna be seeing a lot of that in the People's News Network, a lot of that on all of my social networks this week. Brother Bull, what you got to drop before we get up out of here?
Peace, y'all. Peace. I really didn't have nothing that I wanted to say, but I do want to touch on, how we was talking about how we lost the youth.
Okay.
I like to put that. I like to place that blame on my generation.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I'm saying? Because see, we was gone. We left. I mean, I guess it was circumstantial at the same time, but even still, you know what I mean? We went to prison. We were the ones that left the family. We were the ones that gave up on family. In a lot of different ways we gave up, I would say. And I just think that that's one of the ways that we lost this generation of our kids. You know what I mean?
Agree.
And the only way I think we can rectify that, man, is to get with the grandkids now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get with the grandkids, teach the grandkids the right way. Let's give them the support they need. Let's give them the attention they need, the conversation they may need, the leadership, the guidance, So let's focus on it, but we still can't just throw this generation away at the same time. But live the truth. That's how we give it back to them. Live the truth.
If you'd have killed the young Malcolm at 20, you'd have killed Detroit Red. You wouldn't have killed El-Haj Malik Shabazz.
Right.
Think about that. Let that sink in. We're going to leave you on this note, like I always say, to quote the great Willie Dennis, who's running for office in Houston, Texas, a.k.a. Willie D. If your criticism of the black community outweighs your contribution, you probably a coon. I'll see y'all tomorrow night.
Peace.
All right. Very good. Thank you, brothers.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, we will put miles on this one. I tell him get a hold of this one, boy. It's gonna be good on the docu-series. I shouldn't be saying that because we ain't done yet on YouTube. He can cut that out.